Hi there, I'm Monica Lindstrom, and this is Legally Speaking. Now, before we go any further, I want to give you a scenario to think about. Think about driving on the highway and a police officer pulls you over for speeding. When he's talking to you, he realizes that you have a suspended driver's license, so he arrests you. He then picks up your cell phone and starts looking at it. He starts going through your text messages and he even starts going through your photos. Then as he's going through things, he notices that there's a text message from a known drug dealer, even if you didn't know that person was a drug dealer. He goes a little further and sees pictures of nude children, which could be your children in the bathtub. Well, when he sees that, he decides to go ahead and add the charges of possession of child porn and perhaps has a further investigation into whether you sell drugs or not. So what do you do at that point? And is a police officer allowed to just pick up that cell phone and start looking at it without your permission? Well, this is an issue that the Supreme Court of the United States just recently dealt with, and it actually made a decision. Now let me back up and explain that the Fourth Amendment to our Constitution protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. So what exactly is a search? Well, a search is a government intrusion into an area that you have a reasonable expectation of privacy in. You have a reasonable expectation of privacy in your cell phone. You don't want just anybody to look at it. So when the government looks at that, when the cop looks at it, it is considered a search, and there must be a warrant. Now let's think about a seizure. What exactly is a seizure? Well, that's where the government or a government employee takes control over either you or something you have, like a cell phone. So that right there is considered a seizure. And if you do not feel free to just get up and walk away from that police officer, then you yourself are considered seized. Now let's think about a traffic stop, since that's what I opened this segment up with. Can police officers just pull you over? I mean, that's a seizure. And can they pick up that cell phone and look? That's a search. Well, when it comes to auto stops and what we call stop and frisks, police officers can stop you to talk to you, or they can pull you over in a car if they have reasonable suspicion to believe that you've committed a crime or you have something to do with criminal activity. They can seize something if they think that it is some kind of evidence or contraband, but that seizure has to be very, very finite, meaning it cannot take a long time. So let's talk about the cell phones now, because that is what the Supreme Court had to decide. 90% of Americans have a cell phone, and 58% of those phones are smartphones. And when you look at cell phones today, they are not just your old-fashioned make a phone call and that's all you do. You know as well as I do that they contain all kinds of photos because it has your camera. It's a notepad where you can write down anything you want in there, and it's got your internet history because every time you search on the internet, you create a history when you do that. So the cops can really get a lot of information about you. In fact, there's probably more information about you on your cell phone than what you might find in your apartment or even your house. The reason why this got to the Supreme Court is because the lower courts couldn't make a decision. Should cops be allowed to search the phone just like they can search you? Or should it be more of a conservative approach that they should not be able to pick up that cell phone because we require more from them when they want to search your home, such as we want a warrant before they'll search my home, for example. Well, the Supreme Court decided in a 9-0 vote, which means they all agreed, which doesn't happen very often, that yes, a police officer, a government employee, needs to have a warrant before they search your cell phone. So they cannot just pick up that cell phone during a traffic stop and start looking through it. However, as with any rule, there's always an emergency exception and there's always other exceptions. So could it happen? Yes, it could, but only if one of those circumstances are there. So I recommend that you put a lock on your phone, one of the little codes that you have to put in before anybody can look on your phone in order to protect you against unwanted intrusion, whether it's from the government or from the person sitting next to you at the restaurant. You can follow me on social media. You can also listen to me right here on KTAR from 6 to 8 p.m. on The Agenda. Joe Huizenga is my co-host. You can also hear me during the week on the Mac and Gato Show from 3 to 7 p.m. Monday through Fridays. I'm their legal expert and news commentator. This is Legally Speaking. Until next time, take care.